friends. Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are brought to you by the Regold Company, and we spend time talking dance. What else? We are focused on the dance teacher and studio owner and are passionate about dance education. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Laura Giacomelli. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Ree. How are you today?
I am really good. I love doing coffee talk on Monday. Sets me up for the whole week.
I feel the same exact way. And we
How's
have a good
everything
show.
going? I jumped on you there.
Oh, you're good. I said we have a good show planned, so I'm excited for it.
That we do. That we do with our special guest, Andrea Trench. A master at early childhood and preschool dance education. I always look at that in my mind as that's when you instill the love of dance in a child. And if you do it, it'll last forever.
Yep.
So I kind of consider it the most important sector of dance education. It is our future. Okay, we're going to talk more about that later. Laura, what are you up to in the studio?
The studio is busy. I'm sure everyone is kind of in the same boat. We are choreographing recital dances. Recital costumes are going out in like the next 2 weeks. My dance studio looks like it's going to explode with glitter and sequins, which is fun. What else is going on? I had my proud teacher moment on Saturday, which was cool. So at my studio, we do all of our like solo, duo, trio, like small groups. I call them my specialties. We choreograph them in the summer before. And then I say to the dancers, like, it's your responsibility to maintain that solo until we come into like rehearsals starting the end of January, beginning of February. And they have to clock in so many hours a month and run it. Or they can have pay for private lessons with us too for teachers or whatever. That's fine. And some of them do. But they all of my soloists came in on Saturday and they looked awesome. And I was just like, oh, look at us all being responsible like dancers and coming in prepared and showing up 10 minutes early and stretching. I was like, y'all do hear me when I say this stuff out loud. Like, thank you. So that was like my proud teacher moment. I was like, oh, like they look good, Ree. Like I was like, you look strong. So, I mean, and one
proud.
I was proud. Yeah. And I said that to him. I was like, thank you. Like I'm very, when they do stuff like that, I've always said to myself, and I have them for their preschool classes, I would always say, like, that makes my heart proud. Good job. And I'm like, why don't we say that? I had like a moment when I was like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, why don't I say that in my upper level classes? I'm proud of you. Great job. Learning like more so than like point your feet, stretch your knees, shoulders down, lift up. You know what I mean? Like I made a conscious effort to like flip that a little bit in my brain. And like, I literally said to them, like, thank you for being responsible, for knowing your choreography, for showing up and like knowing what you're doing, like, and doing the work. Like I see that and it shows. So thank you. And they're like, hey, you're what? Like, do I say thank you or you're welcome? You know, like, they just kind of look at me like I'm a whack job. And I'm like, because some kids don't do that, you know?
No, and listen, for everybody dance studio owner watching right now or teacher, to hear you say what you're saying about these kids, you know that I hear and you hear it too, because you're involved with things that I'm involved with, how kids aren't focused, how kids don't have it together.
Right.
So it's the culture we create. Do they want to be awesome at whatever it is that they're doing? And is teaching, we're going deeper, is teaching really not about how we can instill technique, but how we can make the child believe that they can do it?
Right.
Therefore they become good, therefore they set the stage for their own success.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, and I I've said this to the girls all the time, and I say girls because my senior company is all girls. I say to them all the time, like, my bar is always set high, but it's because I know that's what you're capable of. You guys never let me down, right? Even if you stumble a little bit, you realize it, you figure it out, and you step up. So that's why my bar is set so high for you, because I know it's attainable, right? So I think that that's important to have that bar so high for them, but to like also be their cheerleader along the way.
Yes.
You can't just be like, this is what I expect, and like walk away. Like, you can't do that. You're still their mentor. You still have to help them, right? And help them figure it out. And if they, there's sometimes they do maybe sometimes show up and they're not in the right mindset, and maybe they forget a step or two. And I'm like, not your best. Go into the studio, go figure it out, get your head on straight, come back in, and not all rehearsals go like that because they all have other stuff going on. I get it. But they're all capable.
Oh, yes.
They're all capable.
All they need is for us to believe in them.
Yes. Yeah.
I think all kids need is the adults in their lives to just totally believe in them and accept them for who they are and where they're at. And wouldn't we have an awesome world if we hit it just with that thought?
Yeah.
Ooh, kind of deep talk today. It may get a little deeper. For everybody watching, I'd love to know where you're from. Write in the comments where you're from and maybe your thoughts on the conversation Laura and I just had. Yeah. We are here with Andrea Trench on this Monday morning, and she will be with us right after this. We are back. Hello, Andrea.
Hello.
That conference video there.
It makes me so excited. I think that was the only good footage because every other time I'm like, they're doing something crazy, preschool craziness when they're like taking photos or something. But yay, I made it.
Good to see you. Welcome. And I just have to say, Margaret, thanks for being with us. She comes from Scotland. She's been with us the last few weeks. We appreciate you. Andrea Trench, welcome. Here goes a nice compliment for you. I so respect what you do because when you do what you do, there's passion behind it. It isn't just the facts. It's a passion that comes from inside of you when I see you in action. And to me, that is what inspires other people to do their best and inspires other people to be real. And I love that about what you do, my friend. So welcome this morning.
Yes. Thank you so much. That is a great compliment. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm glad that shines through. I love to hear from teachers. I get messages all the time like, I can't believe how this one thing that you mentioned on a reel many weeks ago how much it impacted my class and how empowered it made me feel as a teacher. So I'm just trying to be the teacher and the resource that I wish I had when I was starting out. Because this is my 26th year of teaching. And we didn't have these resources back then. Nothing.
So that leads me to what I'll call my first question. What made you walk into a dance class the first time, and where was that? How did that occur? What attracted you to dance and when?
To teach or to actually dance?
Dance, actually,
Okay.
like discover.
So I was 3.
You get that? Discover it?
Yeah.
How did you discover dance?
When did I discover dance? Well, my cousin was dancing, but she's a year older. So when I wanted to dance with her. So I went to the studio and they said, I'm sorry, you can't dance with her. You're not her age. I'm like, okay. So we just went and found a studio that would take me as a 3-year-old. I actually, oh my gosh, I started with private lessons. And I think there's a video of me somewhere in the early 1980s doing private tap lessons. And one of my first performances was a private, it was a solo, it was a tap solo to Pretty Baby, I think, at a competition.
You were in competition? Wait,
You were 4? Oh my gosh.
I had pictures. I had a big bonnet on. Yeah, I don't know if it was mid-season and they were like, sure, come on.
Oh my gosh.
I don't. Again, it was a long time ago. It was 40 years ago, but yeah, that was me. I was a comp kid. Well, that was all there really was. Well, in my area, we were all comp kids in the 80s and 90s.
Where was your area?
It was Louisville, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
And fun fact is that my very first dance teacher came to one of my Discover Dance teacher trainings in 2019. She walked in and I was like,
what a full circle moment. Oh my gosh. Did that blow your mind?
It blew my mind. Yeah.
Wow. What a compliment that she literally was one of her past students. She's like, yes, I can learn so much. Let's go. That's amazing for her too, that she's been teaching that long and saying, hey, there's always something to learn. You can always be a student.
Oh yeah.
That's a double-sided thing. That's amazing. Both ends.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And I just want to add to those that are listening, dance has never evolved as fast as it is evolving right now. Opportunities evolving right now. You can't sit back. You can't be the person who says, well, I've always done it that way and it worked. Because it is a new world. We need to be like sponges, because the opportunity for us as educators, we actually have a responsibility to keep up with it.
Yeah. And I think to add on to that too, Reeds, because I've been teaching for 20 years. And how I taught 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds in, say, 2015 is completely different how they would respond if I try to teach that same exact class in 2024. The kids are not the same. How they grew up is different. What they're exposed to is different. I mean, they're on, trying to get them off phones and off of tablets and understand their bodies. It's completely, attention spans are different. And I'm not necessarily blaming COVID. I think just our world is different. The world that a child grew up in 2015 is not the same world the child grew up in 2024. They're just not. And I know that I have to approach my 3-year-old classes in a completely different way. And just because those old lesson plans, they don't work, at least in my area. I mean, I'm in Pennsylvania, and that's what I found, and at one point I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I was just like, what am I pushing for? I have tools. You said earlier, I have so many tools in my box. Let's figure out what's going to work. Right. And then I had to really just step back and switch it up. And my classes have never been more full, more fun, more engaging. The kids are having a good time, less criers, less kids running out to mom, right? All the things that you want as a teacher, they're there. but I think it's just a different world. It's just a different world that they're growing up in, and we have to keep up with it, you know?
Ooh, ain't that the truth? So I know you had, or you were maybe a partner involved in the studio for a period of time. Where was that? When was that? And then I'm going to my next question.
Okay, so that was in Homer Glen, Illinois. So it's a southwest suburb. We're southwest suburb of Chicago, and that was in 2006. We started in a actually, my business partner and I were preschool teachers, like academic preschool teachers together. And I was fresh out of college. I had all these ideas. Every dance studio that I went and got a job at, they were like, here's our curriculum. And it was thank you. But it was a lot of it was the opposite of what I had just learned on how to teach children in college. So I had to find a way to teach their lesson plans, but approach it in the way that I had been taught in college on how to teach little ones, because I actually took courses on that. And I wanted to incorporate the curriculum into the actual preschool, which is very easy to do because it's movement, and movement is how children learn. So it was like, hey, can I just do a little dance class here or there? Huge success. Ended up doing a summer camp. We had older kids wanting to take classes. So then I had a few friends in the area, because again, I'm from Kentucky, moving up to Illinois, didn't know many people, but I had a few friends. I'm like, let's do this thing. And that's how our studio started. So that was in 2006. And I went through 12 years. And then I decided it was time for a shift, and I left. I transitioned out, and Discover Dance just took off. So
what was it that made you focus in on early childhood and preschool? Was it like a passion? Do you feel it's needed? Obviously it's needed, but what made you go in that direction? You know, everybody wants to go with the advanced dancers.
Yeah. So I was kind of thrown into it when I was dancing at a studio in the late 90s, and they had 2 teachers quit. And so me and my best friend, the studio owner was like, I don't know what to do. It's mid-year. We hopefully we all haven't been there, but I know many of us have been there, where we have teachers quit mid-year. And the teacher was like desperate. And we were 16 years old at the time. And my best friend, who we are still best friends today, she was like, well, I can teach. And I'm like, that sounds fun. I'll teach. So she got the older jazz kids, and I got the 3 to 5-year-olds. So I was thrown in, literally no resources whatsoever, but I've always loved kids. Every job that I've ever taken has had to do with kids, whether it was working at a daycare or babysitting or being a nanny. Even during college, they had a child development lab on UIUC, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, their campus. And I worked there, where that's where they like studied kids and like their development. So I worked there. Every job that I could get was either teaching dance or working with kids. So that's how I started working with the little ones. I loved it so much. It wasn't until I actually went to college and took courses on how to teach that I realized I had no idea what I was doing, even though I loved it so much. And it worked. It worked. But
if it works, don't fix it.
But listen, once you know better, you do better. You didn't know, right? You didn't know what you didn't know.
I didn't know, but I loved it so much. So that's when I started to really, I actually loved kids and teaching so much that my professors knew how much I loved it. And my junior year, they were like, we're bringing in this teacher. Her name is Kate Cooper. She teaches creative dance for children. You need to take her course. And my goodness, that is what changed my life. She taught me all about Anne Green Gilbert's work. We went into the elementary schools with her, where she would teach dance to a gym full of people, or kids, not even people, like
early
kids, like
childhood
loud
kids, preschool.
No, it was all ages. but I felt that when so I graduated college, I had this opportunity to start a studio, and I really wanted to do it right. I wanted to have a solid early childhood program because I had all this information. But the information I learned was more like going for those that were going into the public school system, like the K through 12. It didn't really adapt to the studio setting necessarily, like I needed it to. Like I needed to prepare my preschoolers for what was coming next. It wasn't, hey, everybody's dancing, we're all going to dance together, you have to, it's part of school. That's not what this was. This was parents coming and having a certain expectation of what dance class for a little one should look like. So I spent years like testing things out and just try, it's because I didn't have the resources and for someone to tell me this is how it should be. I was developing it along the way. And then I got pregnant. I had to leave my little ones, and I didn't want to do that. And I knew, because I didn't trust anybody. This is my control issues, which I'm much better with now. But I was like, no one can teach them like
Deep
I
dark
can.
secrets on Monday morning.
But I've gotten much better, so I don't mind talking about it. But so I started training my teachers, and they really loved what I was doing and how I was teaching. And they're the ones that were like, you should start putting this out there. And I was like, me? Like, I'm an introvert. I do not like putting myself out there. I've come a long way from that too. Yeah. But when I first started, I'm a people pleaser. I don't like negative comments. No, but I had to start training them, and I just fell in love. I wanted to find, I'm a modern dancer. I'm a modern teacher. I taught modern at my dance studio, which modern, yeah, not contemporary, modern, because that's what I have a BFA in dance from a modern university, but a lot of the concepts that we explore in modern are for, little ones as well. It adapts very easily. So I just love kids. I love them so much. I'd rather be around 2-year-olds than teens any day. Although I do love my teens now that I have one in my house, but I just love it. I just love them.
I would like to talk about more about your feelings on the positive things and perks of having a strong preschool program. Why do you think it's important for studio owners to invest in good teachers, continuing education for preschool teachers? Why is that important?
As everyone says, they're the bread and butter of your studio. And I believe that wholeheartedly, that this is where it starts. If you've been lucky enough to be in this business for a long time, you've seen your 2-year-olds graduate. I've seen my 2-year-olds. I'm like, I'll tell my daughter that I taught her when she was 2. She's like, what? I'm like, I know. And now she's having kids, So, but having a strong program, of course, it sets the foundation for your studio growth and success. But more importantly, it sets this, what Bree was talking about earlier, is sets the foundation. It implants the seed of the love of dance for your dancers, but also for your community. The art of dance, whether they continue to dance with you or not, you've set that love and respect and appreciation for the art of dance from a very young age, so that they're going to continue to support you, whether that's coming to your shows, whether that's coming to a community event and they see you at a vendor table and they walk up and be like, oh my gosh, Miss A, do you remember me? So it's really about community and the arts bringing us together. That's what I believe.
That's amazing. I 100% agree with you. I feel like for me, my studio is probably like a mid-sized studio. But my goal personally over the next few years was to have equal amount of preschools, like 5 and under, that I do 6 and up. I want that many littles. Because for me personally, anyone is welcome at my studio. But like you're saying, that connection that you have with them when you had them when you're little is very different than getting someone who's been at 4 studios and then walks in my door and now you're 12 and I'm trying to figure you out and get you into the vibe of my studio and my culture, right? That that connection that you have with those littles, and as you see them mature and grow up and become like good humans, and you think to yourself, like, whether you go dance professionally in New York City or not, like, I still helped you. I was still a part of your family's village. And like you're saying, they get that love of the arts from you, but they're also getting so much more, right? They're getting the sense of independence, accomplishment, teamwork, accountability, like all of those things that you get from inside of a dance studio that doesn't necessarily translate to you're going to become a rockette, right? That opportunity is there, but it's so much more than that, right? Like there's all those other things that you get out of dance.
Yeah, and the sense of community and love and belonging, not just for the dance child, but also the dance family. Because they're part of the dance education experience too, whether we like it or not, they're there. And it's our responsibility to teach them and involve them and to make them feel like part of our community.
Yeah, agreed. I will say, as a studio owner, I find what my biggest struggle personally was finding good preschool teachers. My studio has been open. We're in our 13th season. The first, oh my God, you're going to laugh at me. I think the first 8 years, I taught every class 5 and under. When I would hire people, you can teach beginner jazz, beginner hip hop, teen jazz. You can start with my company kids, but I never gave up my babies ever. And I mean, I was teaching 12 baby classes and then company choreography. Like I was crazy in my late 20s and early 30s, crazy. But that being said, it's because I kind of felt like how you felt when you were going to like give up your classes because you were pregnant and you needed to, right? You needed to go on your maternity leave. When I started handing off those classes, I had this like, what am I going to do? But I was lucky that I found very strong teachers to be involved with the preschoolers and handle them with like the white glove care that I expect and I want. I'm very, very lucky. But what would you say to studio owners who were searching for like those, I don't know, those like little, I call them unicorns. My acro teacher is a unicorn and the preschool teachers are unicorns. They're like the unicorns of the dance in my eyes. I feel like they're the hardest ones to find. What would you suggest? Would you suggest continuing education? And like growing them underneath of you? Would you suggest, is there a certain place that we can resource that we don't know about as studio owners?
I always love the idea of growing your own. My daughter assists me now, and I have full intentions of, I'm not a studio owner, or I just go in and teach a couple classes and I leave, which is kind of nice. It's very different than what I'm used to, but she assists me and I tell her every day, I'm like, Julia, if you want to teach, this is the best training you could ever receive, is working with me. Because again, the lesson plan is only going to tell you the list of activities and the songs. I'm teaching you how to connect with the little ones. I'm teaching you that screaming that you heard that really hurt your ears, those kids weren't being bad. This happened last week. They were like, Mom, they were so loud. I'm like, they were excited, right? That was excited screams. That's how they express their excitement and joy, is they shriek. And back in the day, I'd be like, stop, we do not scream in this class. I probably wouldn't say it like that, but I would be like, it would bother me. And now I'm like, yeah, it's fun, isn't it? She, on the other hand, is like, oh, but like growing your own is always, or just training. Like I had a lot of, when I hired new teachers, especially the younger teachers fresh out of college, I always had them assisting me, even if they were teaching their own classes. We were talking about this earlier, Laura. Even if they were teaching on Saturday mornings, they still taught with me on Tuesday mornings, so that they knew what to do. They knew how to connect with the parents and with the child, and how to handle different situations. Otherwise, professional development is always the key. And that goes past just handing them over a program or a lesson plan. Like, we have to learn child development. So I am constantly in my ears all the time are different early childhood podcasts. I'm constantly reading. I'm listening to parenting podcasts, things that you wouldn't even expect. Or if someone said, here, you need to listen to this parenting podcast, and they'll be like, but I'm not a parent. But you work with children. You need to know this information. So definitely grow them, but also offer plenty of opportunities for professional development.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I will say, last year was the first year that a lot of my teachers, to be honest, we're all like in our 30s at this point. I don't have young staff. I have one who's like mid to late 20s, but didn't have as much teaching experience as I would have liked. So the first year I said, I want us to like co-teach together. On Saturdays. And to be honest, as a studio owner, that also gave us flexibility, which I didn't really think about at the time. But I'm like, well, if she has a wedding, I have that class anyway. If I want to go on vacation with my family in the middle of October, I got coverage for that. It's like built in. There's like another like little extra like perk of having that. Yes, I had to pay her an hourly wage, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I get that. However, when you're investing in your teachers, it's going to cost your business money at first, but you're going to make that money up in the end, right? But her in particular, we did 1 year of co-teaching on Saturdays. And then when we moved in to this year that we're in, I gave her lots of baby classes during the week. And she still co-teaches me on Saturday because I wasn't personally ready to give up my Saturday babies. I need at least another year, and then I'll like reassess in the spring. And I love them. It's my passion. It's like a reset, right? Like it's like you're in that class and it's just, I don't know, it's pure joy. That's the way I can explain it. It's just pure joy on Saturdays. But what I've noticed when I go and observe her in her other classes where she is the lead teacher, we're doing dancing with ribbons, and I hear her saying things that I say, like, look at all these rainbows. Tell me the colors, orange, yellow, purple. I'm like, oh, so now we're doing colors in class. Now we're doing movement as well. And they're like, there's, and I know that the parents are like, oh, they're doing colors. Oh, like, it's just, it's more, they're learning even more than just, I hate saying just dance, but they're learning more than dance, right? How to pick up after themselves, just all of that. And I had a moment, I was like, wow, like that was worth every penny. Every penny that I've paid her to co-teach with me for 3 classes, I see her run a class with 12 3-year-olds seamlessly now, right? Like that was such an investment that will last me years in my business, the time that she's there. So I think if studio owners are nervous or like, oh, they're going to go down the street, it's okay. And I think to myself, she's never going to teach exactly like me. I'm Laura, right? So don't be like nervous about that either.
Okay, I have to jump
Reed's
in.
Gonna explode.
Oh my God.
I know. Reed's like,
I'm sorry, Reed. Did you want to say something?
No, I love the conversation, but I want to say something about preschool education. I think you said it in the beginning. I too went in and taught preschool kids what I was taught or how I saw other teachers teach, especially my mother. The difference in 2024 is we didn't know why we did what we did. Okay, in that, where I was probably like 1976, 77, getting into teaching. We just did it because that's how we learned. That's how the generation before learned. One of the greatest things I think about Discover Dance and the age we're in right now is it isn't about how good we make your kid as a dancer at age 3. Because, parents used to look in the window and go, well, how come she's not really dancing? We can now explain the reasons why we do everything we do. And know this, I think. We're not selling the movement. We're selling the life skills that these kids are getting through the movement as they prepare to go into school and into this world. Comments?
Absolutely. And I tell you what, I have been super intentional about how I've created the different skills that we do in Discover Dance, or the different all of our different curriculums. Everything that we do in our classes in a Discover Dance class has a purpose behind it. And I can clearly tell you, if I gave you one of my lesson plans and you said, why do you do this here? We usually do the freeze dance at the end of class. I'll be able to tell you confidently. And when you're confident and you feel empowered as a leader, when parents question you, you welcome it. I welcome it. Like, ask me anything. I love to have parents in and watching, because I get to educate them. And hello, we're educators, right? So I get to tell them what's happening in our class, why it's happening, and the difference they're going to see. We have a couple mottos here. One is we dance for development. So because movement is how children learn, we use dance as a tool to help their development. So we're working on self-regulation. We're working on building our focus and concentration, our balance, our coordination, all of those things that they need to succeed in life. But we're also, working on our dance skills, our conceptual skills, our codified skills. We're doing all of those things, but I am 100% confident in what we do because I understand the why we do it, and I'm successful in the how. So I really I love parents. I used to not. They burnt me out.
You make me laugh when you say that, because I was one who grew up saying, keep the parents out of it.
Yeah.
I've recently learned, doing this event we do called Soul, where I get to work with these parents, they just want to know why. They don't understand. They're not questioning your abilities. They're not questioning your knowledge, your history. They really are just asking questions. And once they know why, they support you wholeheartedly. It's when they wonder, or you don't have enough confidence, or you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, so therefore you can't answer that question.
Yeah, and I think it's not taking it personal, right, Ree? Like what you're saying, it's not them. I think when I was a younger teacher, I'd take things like, like personal. I'm like, no, this is just their kid, and they want to know why they have to stand on a dot while we're doing this particular why. There's, I got emails. They're standing on their dot a lot, and I have to say, well, that's their safe space. We're doing
and
things.
That answer, all you had to say was, that's their safe space. No mom would ever ask you.
And I'm like, when they have top shoes on, unless we're going across the floor, they need to be on their safe space, because they need to learn not to be running around. We don't want them slipping and sliding. And mom's like, oh, but before I'm like, are you questioning my teaching? Like, no, they just want to know why they're standing on their dot. It's like, it's not.
I'm not the dance teacher. Back off, lady. No, I used to take it super personal too, and now I welcome it in. Back in the day, I would never. If a child couldn't leave a parent, then they weren't ready for dance class. Forget it. You have to take a break. Come back later. She's just not ready. Then I read somewhere that we should never, like, the best practice for early childhood development is to never make a child separate from their parent. So anytime I read something that I'm like, I used to do that, I'm really open to seeing it from all perspectives. And so when I went back to the studio, because I took a couple years off from teaching, and now I went back last year, I had some kids who weren't ready. And personally, it wasn't my studio. I didn't have the place to say, oh, well, she's not ready, she needs to go. Like, I'm just a teacher, I'm not the studio owner. So I want everyone to come in and be happy, so that, no one complains to the studio owner about me. So I invited the parents in, like just one parent to come in with her child. I'm like, just sit here, you're fine. And when I shared this with my Discover Dance community on Instagram, they were like, well, what about the other kids? Didn't that distract the other kids? No, they didn't need their parent.
Right.
They didn't need that at that moment. So no, they were fine without their parent. It was a risk that I took, but that child went on stage by herself and did the whole dance. She needed mom in the dance classroom the whole week or the whole year, which we tried to get her out. It didn't work. She came back in. It was fine. I pulled out all my tools, but these are things that I would have never even thought about doing back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of times you think, well, we blame COVID for like these COVID babies and all this stuff, but I don't think that us being open to changing and adapting and, trying new things is a bad thing. Right. Just because kids are different. I've had criers since the first day that I started. It's no different than in 2024. I've had kids fight over the purple spot for decades. Yeah. Right?
Purple dots, Andrea. That's what we've all learned, right?
At some point, we have to take responsibility and be like, how can I approach this differently? Because kids, as much as they are changing, they're really not changing. They're still 2-year-olds with big emotions. Right. We're just finding better ways to adapt our classes and to meet their needs. That's what it's coming. Another one of our mottos is we teach the developing child first, dancer second, because you can't teach dance if the developing child is struggling with a certain skill that they haven't developed yet. So when you're teaching a toddler class, if your top of your skill list is pliés and tendus, there's something missing, because we have to be able to teach them to self-regulate first, to be able to focus and concentrate first before we even think about the tendus and the pliés.
Yeah.
Point passe, pas de bourrée. I don't know why I thought of that.
I'm not saying you can't do pliés. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't do pliés and sautés in your toddler classes. I'm just saying that shouldn't be a focus.
Yeah.
No, a sauté is a jump. Yes, they have to be able to jump. A plié is a bend. They have to be able to do that.
Right.
They all have to be able to do whatever they're capable of doing. And I look at it as when a kid starts off in dance at an early age and discovers, and this is nothing to do with their show, recital, what they dance, discovers like losing themselves in that movement. If there's music playing, like you just set that child up for understanding that even exists in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you can. And they'll use that skill, whether they use it in other ways, go into sports, go into other things. I look at it as I wish every child had the opportunity to dance. I actually think if the whole world could start to dance, I know I sound crazy, but man, we might understand each other a little more.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, that's why the whole dance for development, can you imagine if parents knew that movement was how their children's brains develop? And if we took that seriously and we took that responsibility in our dance classes, and that is, that it wasn't about the shiny tutu and, the 1.5 minutes on stage, but it was really setting the foundation for them being a human being.
Yep.
Ooh, profound discussion today. I want to say something that I've talked to you about this in the past, but it's interesting to me in this conversation. There was a time when those, I'm going to call us private sector dance studios, were doing what we were doing because we didn't know better. And hear this. Anne Green, Gilbert, others who were creating what they were creating didn't merge with the other side.
Yeah.
So this research, this knowledge didn't get shared until people like you could bring it to.
That is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I can't believe when I first started and people were like, I don't know what the brain dance is. I was like, what? It has totally changed my life.
Because brain dance didn't welcome private sector at that time.
Yeah.
And I look at it now and it's like, don't judge anybody, educate them.
Yeah. Right.
educate.
Exactly. Yep.
But you built the bridge. So when you're done with this call, pat yourself on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has become something that's made a major impact on the private sector dance studio owner.
Wow. Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm glad you're seeing it, because it took a long time to develop. Took a long time. I was in my own little Homer Glen studio for, over a decade, trying to figure this thing out and how we could incorporate all the brain development research, and all the research that has come out since then. I mean, it's just like constantly we're getting flooded. And so me trying to, and by no means, I appreciate being called an expert, but I am not. I am just open to learning a lot, because I take the responsibility of leading the group that I have inside Discover Dance and who follow me, and I want to make a difference. I call them my army. I'm like, let's elevate early childhood dance education. It needs to take priority. These little ones are our future, not just in our studio, but these are the future humans that will be walking amongst us. So I take it very seriously. Some people may say I take it a little too seriously, but I do it in a fun, playful way.
With colorful props.
I know, yeah, with props and songs. What else do you want from me?
I love that. Yeah, how could somebody not like that, right?
It's fine. I know a lot, but a lot of it, some teachers are not open to changing.
Right.
They're not. And I can't make anyone be open to changing. All I can do is tell you why this works, and it's usually not my idea or opinion. I have something to back it up.
Right.
And it's simple, people like different kinds of ice cream, whatever. It's that so simple.
Yep.
And know that the teachers who I grew up with, many gone now, like they were older when I was a kid, they might run from this. This might have not been, they would have been intimidated by it. Get it? Like intimidated because they didn't have that knowledge themselves.
Now, I've had comments from older teachers. They're like, I'm a serious ballet teacher. Like my preschoolers are going to learn ballet. Okay, that's great. My preschoolers learn ballet as well. However, we also work on the development side, that preschoolers learning ballet, when they're doing their pliés, they're just copying your shape. They're not, if you're not teaching them the concepts that create the ballet, the skill, then they're just copying your shape. And what we see in our older dancers, right? Everybody think about their older dancers and all the habits that they've developed over the years. Some of it can come back to not understanding the concept of that skill, or it can come back to a lack of a foundational skill like coordination or balance or something like that. So we're just trying to set that foundation so that they can grow up and do whatever style they want. We love and celebrate all styles of dance, just like we love and celebrate all kids.
Bingo.
Yep. Yep.
As we wind this down, Andrea, tell me a message. I mean, you might have just said it, but tell me a message you'd like to get out there in the dance education field, whether it comes to early childhood dance or just dance in general.
I'd like to go back to what Laura was saying about studio owners and teachers. As much as studio owners like to invest in their teachers, I want this to be a call to all teachers to step up their own professional development. Because I believe that we all have to take responsibility for what we teach in our classes and how we teach our classes. So if we're just depending on our studio owners to help us, there are more resources out there that you can do it yourself. And you can, because you are the teacher, you are the educator, and you just can't rely on other people. So come to Discover Dance, check out, we have our foundations course for early childhood dance educators. Come to the conference. I'll be there. Come talk to me, come join me. We will have so much fun together. We'll learn together. But at some point, the teachers have to take responsibility for what's happening in their classes. And it shouldn't always just go back to the studio owner. Although I know as a teacher, I appreciate when my studio owner offers me professional development opportunities, but I definitely think that there's a responsibility in the teachers as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, Andrea. I feel like that's something that, and maybe it's because I had a little more of a studio owner mindset. I knew eventually I wanted to open a studio, but if teaching is your profession, then you should be investing in yourself, just like in any profession.
Absolutely.
Right? Continuing education is huge in any field. And like Ruth said, we are in our industry is changing and growing, and like it's like this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a teacher if I wasn't a studio owner. I wouldn't want to be a teacher that was left behind. I would want to give the best to my students, right? That's what I would want.
And if you're teaching early childhood, you need to take child development classes and look into child development resources, because there's not a lot of early childhood dance resources. There's not as many as there are in the child development field. So when you learn how children learn and develop, it makes teaching dance to them so much easier. Yeah. So much easier.
Great talk. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Laura. To those that are watching today live with us or on demand, I'm going to reiterate what I started, I believe, with here is grab every opportunity to learn and be better. The evolution of dance education is something that's happening fast and something we should all be grateful for, because it didn't exist 20 or 30 years ago. Don't run from it, grab it. And I'll say this one last thing. You don't have to go with someone's whole belief. The real objective is to learn what everybody has to offer and create something that is all you. That is ultimate success.
Yes. Imagine like a family tree, right? And you have all these parts of people inside you. That's exactly what our dance education background is. We're taking a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this teacher, a little bit of this teacher, and then we're coming in. I don't want a bunch of Miss Andreas out there. I know that all of us are fantastic teachers. Let's pull from all the teachers and resources that we have and move forward together.
Yeah.
Yes, we're closing with those words. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Have a great week. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye.